Yo, what is up? I am in Kyoto, Japan, and wanted to create a very quick video today to walk you through something that I see most of my clients struggle with and the people that come to work with me struggling with. If you're in a situation right now where you find content creation is more friction than flow, you are running out of ideas consistently, or you're not creating the content that you want to create, and instead you're creating stuff that bores you, or you just find inconsistency or too much rigidity with planning and preparing content, this video is for you. I don't have a content plan. I don't spend time sitting down and thinking about, I'm going to create this piece of video on this date. I don't batch create content. I find that when you batch create content, personally, I find that it contributes to stagnant, stale content. And what I like to do is create content on the pulse of what's really happening in my world. So for example, if I have a conversation with a client, or I have a coaching call with a group, and there's a theme or a thread, then I like to create my content around that, because that's the most relevant stuff. And so when you sit down to batch create, then what you're gonna find is that you are trying to think of ideas instead of documenting what's already happening within your business. So, what is the big thing? If you find that content is frictionful and not frictionless, then you aren't going to create it. Anything that takes more friction to create is never really going to be the thing that you create consistently. I think if content is a battle for you and you have to really get the camera right and get the studio right and get the audio right, or you pick out your phone and you think that your life is boring, and all of these barriers get in the way of you creating content, you're never going to create it. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and he was in this very similar situation. In the growth of his business in the early stages, he was creating run and gun content, stuff off the fly, quick and fast and easy, and shooting raw videos in his car, or he was going on a walk. And as his business began to scale, he had less time to sit and create content on a daily. And so he started batching it into 2 hours a week. And he lost the love of the creativity of the art of creating content because it felt too rigid. So there's a fine balance between you having a lot of rigidity and structure in your content creation, or in terms of having too much flow where you don't create it at all. If you don't have a structure at all, it's unlikely you're going to create content, and it's going to be too irregular. If you have too much structure, your content's going to feel wooden, and it's going to feel it's going to feel rigid. And I don't think that's the sweet spot for creators or coaches. I think the sweet spot is finding the balance between structure and flow, having a structure where flow and creativity can happen. Marketing is both art and science. It is your expression of what it is you do, your personal transmission, the way in which you show up in the world, and equally, it is your methodology, your process. And so when you are trying to figure something out and you're trying to get something to work, it's going to take a lot of creativity, but it's also going to take some experimentation and structure. And so the idea for me is that if we can reduce the friction to creating content, I'm in Kyoto, in Japan, and the level of procrastination that I have when it comes to creating content looks like buying the best cameras, the most fancy microphones. I bought a £3,500 camera because I wanted my camera footage to be perfect. And when I came away, I had this little Sony ZV-1 camera, and I was like, should I take my big camera? Should I just take the one that I've got? And honestly, this is a pocket-sized camera that I'm carrying around. I have a little tiny tripod. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna create content that is on the fly. It's easy to create. I don't have to get this big camera out. I don't have to struggle with holding it on a tripod. And the more that we can reduce the friction points to creating content, the more likely we are to create content that feels authentic, it feels real, it feels raw. And we get to a point where all of these little things that we have to do, the camera, the mic, the editing, the light, the the audio, like all of these things that we have to consider are all friction points. You know, and even in my YouTube journey right now, it's like getting the right title, getting the right thumbnail, getting the edits right. And I've just decided it's like this season, it's more important that I create content than it is to create the perfect content. Because I think we end up in a situation where we judge ourselves, we criticize the content that we create, we get like overly invested in the perfect piece of content instead of the creation of content. I've known for a very long time, I've done email marketing for like 13 years now, and I've wrote almost daily email for 13 years. It's been the primary way in which I've grown my business. Writing is my muse. It's the way in which I develop and craft ideas. It's the way in which I get things out to the world. And I have no friction whatsoever with that, because I can literally be on my phone and have an idea, write something and publish it right away. I think with video, inevitably there's the thing of getting the camera out, getting the idea, getting the shot right, not stumbling over your words, then all of the post-production stuff that really slows us down. It's like getting the right edit. It can take a lot. And so my commitment is this travel here in Japan, this beautiful place that I'm in, is to create more stuff that just feels real and raw. And just like take in the culture and don't allow like this desire to be perfect to get in the way of actually capturing something that's a great idea. I think ideas are the source of income, and especially in this creator economy, this value creator world that we live in today, it's like less about what you can help someone achieve and more about how somebody resonates with your way of doing things, right? And you just want to reduce the friction, right? If I was to think about, I'm traveling with my family, if I was to think about, right, I've got to get the perfect shot, I've got to get the camera right, I've got to, set it all up, make sure the kids are quiet, make sure like mopeds aren't flying past me as I'm trying to create content, like all of this stuff. If I'm trying to think of all of these little pieces, I'm not going to create jack shit. I'm going to create no content whatsoever. If you think your life's boring and you're not up to much each day, you're not going to create anything. And so if you want to build any audience whatsoever, and you don't need a big one, right? I mean, at this point of creating this video, I have like 287 subscribers. I checked it just before this video, that's why I know. And it's less about that for me. I don't care if this video gets 300 views or 500 views or 100 views or 70 views or 10 views. What I care about is that I am documenting ideas and thoughts that I'm having right now in the moment. And like, this is as much for me as it is for you. Like, because my level of procrastination looks like spending thousands of pounds and dollars on new camera kit to get the perfect thing. And I've had this little camera for the longest time. I've not really created anything with it. And my commitment now is to actually create with this camera more. And like, I mean, even before coming on this trip, I was like, should I get like an upgrade from this camera and a downgrade from my other camera so I can get better footage? And I was like, I'm just spending money again, which is an elaborate procrastination of actually doing the thing that matters, which is creating content. Because my phone would be good enough. Because if the idea is good, then people will follow the idea. And that, my friends, that is the key to it all. Like, if the idea is good, then nothing else matters. If the idea is good, nothing else matters. What matters is that you get your ideas out into the world, and you do that with as least friction as possible, and you remove any barriers or constraints that are going to prevent you from getting content out. You don't have to batch it, you don't have to script it, you don't have to do any of that. You simply get the idea, you simply take out the device that you have, whether that's your phone, whether that's your camera that you already have. You get a mic if you need one. You can get little Bluetooth mics for your phone that are like 20 quid, $30. They don't cost a lot. And you start creating and publishing, because that's the thing that's gonna help you as well as help other people. You get your idea out, but every rep that you do is gonna deepen your ability to communicate. It's gonna help you get your ideas out there to the world. It's gonna help you understand that it's not about perfection, it's about reps. And quantity equals quality. I created my very first YouTube video like 2009 or 10, 2010, maybe 2011, like 13 years ago. And I could look back and I could show you those videos and they'd be horrible and horrendous and funny and I would laugh at myself. But I have continued to create content for 13 years. I've continued to do it even though I've done hundreds of videos I've never published. I've continued to publish every single day. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be comes down to your consistency and the action that you take, especially in today's market when it comes down to voicing your ideas, voicing your philosophy, because that's the thing that's going to separate you from everyone else. There is no one on this planet that can replicate you. Not a single person. And when we talk about getting someone a result, the way in which we get a result, those are two layers. And those are the layers that everybody competes on. You know, in the market that I'm mainly operating in right now, like I come up with an idea or I run an ad and I can see the same things happening everywhere. And I hate that because it's like, oh, really, we're competing on a widget and a result, which anyone in this market can get. Like anyone can study a course, learn from somebody, take those ideas, repurpose them, and then sell them to the world. And you know, content alone now is not the secret. Content alone is not the thing that really, it's not the monetizable thing. It's the personality that sits behind the content. You want to get yourself to layer 3 of being able to have people resonate with you specifically to help you grow a business, because you can really honestly build a $10,000 to $50,000 dollar a month business by literally sharing your philosophy around the way in which you get results. So you get results, you get them in a way, but then you layer in your personality and who you are. And that's what really gets people to buy. We are in the best economy on the planet today, right now, for taking ideas and selling them to the world. And it's less about the idea and it's more about the person that sits behind it. So remove all of the friction, right? Do an experiment for the next 30 days. Remove all of the friction behind creating content. And instead of having perfect content, create content daily. And then you'll get to a point where you feel more confident, comfortable. You have a dialogue with your audience. And that way, like, people are seeing you show up every day. And that's 90% of the battle. If you show up every day, you have a great program and you can get someone a result, you're gonna get clients, I promise you. And so my commitment in Japan is that I do just that. And again, this is edgy for me in the sense of it's not perfect. It's not in a studio with the perfect lighting. You know, I've got this little mic clipped on here. I've got this little ZV-1 camera, which I bought like 4 or 5 years ago and never really used it. And it's been amazing. I've just had it in my pocket. I'm running and gunning. It's gonna be a 0 edit video, just one long ass rant, me stumbling around the streets with a little tripod, waiting for my family to get ready this morning. And just having fun with sharing ideas, man. Like, that's the key, honestly. Like, have fun with sharing the ideas, being in your environment every day, because life is boring, right? And I mean that in the simple sense of, like, you aren't going to be doing exciting things every day. And if you're waiting for an exciting thing to do a piece of content, it's not going to happen, right? The content is the most important thing. The way you do it doesn't really matter. The how you do it doesn't really matter. Upgrade your kit as you go. Don't spend a fortune on a camera, because a better camera isn't going to make you create more content. Learn from me. I've done this time and time again. I've had a camera, I've upgraded it. I've had a camera, I upgraded it. And it did not increase my ability to create more content. All it did was put more friction points in between the idea and publishing it to the world. All right, I think I'll end there. It's 14 minutes 30 of a street ramble around Kyoto. I appreciate you. Give me a like, give me a comment if you resonated with this, and hit subscribe as well. See if you can be my 288th subscriber. All right, peace.